It's the Acting Income Podcast with Ben Houck, Episode 11. What to do when Sessions Payroll doesn't report your acting income to Social Security, with Sara DeRosa.
It's the Acting Income Podcast with Ben Houck. Turn your passion into income, Ben will show you how. With all the resources that you need to make it as an actor in an expensive city. To stay balanced and make money, you really can't go wrong with actingincome.com.
Welcome to the Acting Income Podcast. I'm Ben Houck, and on this podcast, we talk about anything and everything that helps you earn an income as an actor. Many thanks for listening in. This is episode 11, titled, What to Do When Sessions Payroll Doesn't Report Your Acting Income to Social Security, with Sara DeRosa. Pull up the show notes right now at actingincome.com/episode 11. While you're doing that, here's a word from today's sponsor, Stand-In Central. Have you ever wanted to become a stand-in in TV or film? At Stand-In Central, we share what you might expect if you've just been hired as a stand-in on a film or TV show. With its gear reviews, weekly blog, and even its downloadable stand-in handbook, Stand-In Central offers a solid foundation in how to be an excellent and effective stand-in. Since 2010, Stand-In Central has been the go-to resource for standing in on film and television productions. To prepare yourself for your next stand-in job, check out standincentral.com. This episode of the Acting Income Podcast may make you a little mad. It has to do with your acting income and how Social Security may not have a record of your acting income because a particular payroll company didn't report it. If you don't know what that means, it means that when you retire, you might not get money you deserve, and there may be a payroll company that played a role in that. It may make you even madder to know that you may have missed your eligibility for a pension credit or health insurance because this payroll company didn't report your acting income. More specifically, SAG Pension and Health, or AFTRA Health and Retirement, may not have a record of your acting income from this payroll company because it went unreported. And there's a time limit for fixing reporting problems. If you're a young actor, believe it or not, your choices today not to fix the problem may have serious implications when you're at retirement age more than 40 years from now. Actor and stand-in Sara DeRosa alerted me to this serious issue with respect to acting income and Social Security, as well as SAG Pension and Health and AFTRA Health and Retirement. No matter if you're a union or non-union actor, younger or older, if you've ever worked a job paid by Sessions Payroll, you'll want to perk your ears up, get out a pen, take notes, and refer back to this podcast episode. You're probably also going to want to share it. You're going to get steps to make sure your acting income has been correctly reported to the Social Security Administration. You don't want any rude surprises when you retire, especially when it comes to unexplained, unreported income. Here's a bit about Sara DeRosa. Sara DeRosa has worked as an actor and a stand-in on numerous television and film sets in New York City. She's a member of SAG-AFTRA and a graduate of the 2-year conservatory program at the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts. Sara's been featured as an unsung hero in the Elle magazine Women in Hollywood issue for her stand-in work. She shares her knowledge and advice about stand-in work as senior contributor on Stand-In Central. Sara loves living in New York City, and her favorite sets she's worked on are Madam Secretary, Gossip Girl, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. A few things up front. In this interview, we make no claims as to why Sessions payroll income has not been reported to Social Security. Also, stick around after the interview for how the issue Sara explains affected me and what I did about it. I also have a free download that will really help you in determining if the issue affects you. And now, my interview with Sara DeRosa. Sara DeRosa, welcome to the Acting Income Podcast.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you here. Let me just say that you've been talking to me for a while, and you have been confusing the heck out of me with something that you've been seeing happening with respect to your income, your acting income, especially when it's come from Sessions Payroll. It is glossed over. My eyes glossed over when you would tell me this because I couldn't really follow it. But you walked me through the issue one day, and I gasped, because I saw whatever issue you were talking about was also affecting me and my acting income through Sessions Payroll. Could you tell me what on earth you experienced and what you discovered when it comes to Sessions Payroll?
It all started when I checked my Social Security earnings record. I was missing wages for the past 5 years. I had to do a lot of research, calls to Social Security, IRS, figure out where your records come from. But bottom line, I ended up figuring out that all the wages I had earned for Sessions Payroll in the past 5 years were not reported to Social Security or to the IRS.
Okay, all right. That's about where I started to go, okay, I have no idea what relevance that has to me. I am close to 40 years old, and I kind of don't really know what that means. So I'm sure there are 20-year-olds out there, 20-year-old actors or 18-year-old actors whom this is affecting, and they don't have any sense of what that means to them. What does it mean when their Social Security earnings aren't reported correctly?
Social Security keeps a record of all the wages you've made over your working years to calculate your Social Security retirement benefits in the future. So if you are missing wages from that, your retirement benefits could be lower in the future. Now, because people might not know about their record or they are younger, they're not thinking about Social Security. Therefore, they're not checking their record and seeing any kind of discrepancies. But it's important to check. And that's why I'm trying to get the word out, because people aren't really paying attention to their Social Security earnings record.
Right. So let's say you're 65 and then you look back to when you were 18 years old and you were earning an income through Sessions Payroll. Let's say your Social Security income was diminished because of some payroll company not reporting your income in the past, do you think that would matter? Do you think that would upset somebody in their 60s if they were like, oh, I didn't address that back in the day?
Absolutely. I mean, you at that time, would you still have your records, your W-2s? Would you be able to correct it? That's the thing. It needs to be corrected now. If you do start receiving benefits when you are 65 and you all of a sudden look at your statement and notice there's mistakes, that's not going to be fun to try to fix things then.
So when it comes to payroll, I must say, I admit, things can be a little bit abstract. I get a voucher when I'm on set. It somehow makes its way to the payroll company, and somehow I get a paycheck with their taxes taken out. That's all I really know. What are the responsibilities of the payroll company? That's the company that sends me the paycheck. What are the responsibilities of a payroll company with respect to reporting your wages?
A payroll company reports your wages to you at the end of the year on a W-2. You take that information and report that to the IRS when you file your taxes. But the company is also responsible for reporting your wages on their end to both Social Security and the IRS. If they don't do this, then the Social Security and IRS don't have your wages information and can't give you credit for those earnings because they're not verified by the employer.
So that usually happens with most payroll companies, but for some reason that we don't quite understand, you noticed something happened differently when you worked for a company that used Sessions Payroll.
Correct. I noticed that, first of all, they use a different name on their W-2s almost every year. So I noticed that I was missing wages each year, but it was hard to find out what company wasn't reporting my wages.
So instead of getting a W-2 from Sessions Payroll, you were getting W-2s from, maybe they were coming in the mail in envelopes from Sessions Payroll, but when you opened up the W-2, it said what company was listed on there.
Most recently, the W-2s have said First Hand Productions, Inc. Other names have included RE Productions, Century Employer Organization, LLC, and Vast Care of Sessions.
So if you're an actor who worked through a Sessions Payroll job and you got a W-2 from First Hand Productions, if you got one from RE Productions, which looks a little bit like the word reproductions, Century Payroll, is that what you said?
Century Employer.
And Vast, this story that we're talking about may affect you and may have implications on your Social Security.
Correct. Some people don't realize that those companies are reporting for Sessions. They see that, they realize they got their paychecks from Sessions throughout the year, but they get a W-2 with a different name on it. And a lot of people don't take the time to make that connection. So it may be confusing, but those companies all trace back to Sessions Payroll.
And there's further implications. Not only does not reporting your income to Social Security affect your Social Security, especially when you get older, but it also has implications for SAG pension and health if you're union who earns a pension or health insurance. It also has implications on AFTRA, health, and retirement. What are some of those effects that you understand?
If payroll companies don't properly report your wages to SAG pension health and AFTRA health and retirement, it will affect your eligibility for health insurance and for pension.
Wait. So that means that if they don't report your income properly, you may not qualify for a pension credit, or you might not qualify for health insurance only because a company didn't report it, even though you might have worked a dollar amount that qualified you.
Correct. And you are responsible for checking your own records and finding these discrepancies. SAG Pension Health and After Health and Retirement are going to report to you what employers reported to them, but they don't know if something's missing. So it's your responsibility to check your records, match everything up, and report any errors that you find.
Well, that's frightening. That's frightening because if you're on the cusp, if you're almost there for qualifying for a pension credit or for health insurance, if the difference is your income from sessions, that could mean that you don't qualify for health insurance or you don't get a pension credit that year, which could have very, I don't want to sound too scary, but for some people could have catastrophic implications. Also, it could be the matter of just making a small amount from sessions, keeping you from qualifying. But let's say you worked on a job, a sessions payroll job, and for a lot of the year, and you made a lot of income from that, and it doesn't show up toward a pension credit or health insurance. That would boggle your mind.
Absolutely. And the other part of it is that the pension and health and retirement, when they report to you, people take their word for it. They don't realize that something might be missing and there might be a mistake, and they just assume they didn't qualify that year for health insurance or for a pension credit, and they don't look into it further.
Is this that letter you get in the mail when you're a union member that asks you to report what jobs you did in the year, and you just look at it and say, like, don't you know what I did?
Yes, that's what that document is about. If you don't fill out that document, you'll still get a statement in the mail from SAG Pension Health and After H&R each year telling you what you made.
Good to know. Good to know. That gives me some new understanding of the meaning of that document. Okay, so we've identified the problem. Now, how did you attack this problem? How did you make sure that your income that you made through sessions payroll was properly reported to, let's start with Social Security?
With Social Security, I needed to go down to my local Social Security office with my W-2s as proof of income, gave those to them. They made copies and they entered it onto my record. It was actually quite simple to fix. It's not fun to go down to the Social Security office, but that one I was able to fix on my own.
Well, that's good to know. I think that we may have actually jumped a step, though, in talking about that, because we first have to figure out whether this problem actually affects us. Maybe you did work for sessions and your income was reported to Social Security. How did you figure out, with a little bit of detail, how did you figure out that there was a discrepancy in what you made and what was reported?
When you look at your Social Security earnings record and it tells you what you made for a particular year, you match it up with what you reported on your tax return. Your total wages should closely match what's reported on your Social Security earnings record. If there is something missing, you kind of need to sit down with all your W-2s and find out which companies might not be there. You have to do some math on your own. As actors, we tend to work for several companies a year and get multiple W-2s. So it's not as straightforward as someone with one job would see.
Great. Where do we find our Social Security earnings record?
You need to go online to ssa.gov. That's the Social Security Administration's website. They don't mail statements anymore. People sometimes say, well, I think I get that in the mail, which you would have used to, but you don't anymore. And you need to go online to get it.
Great. I have that link in the show notes in case you missed that. So you go online, you log into the Social Security Administration's website, and you look for the year, and let's say 2013. It's 2015 now. I understand that the prior year is not up to date, but if you go 2 years back from the current date, that's the most up-to-date records.
Yes, that's correct.
So it's 2015. I'm going to look at 2013. I'm going to look at what my income is reported to the SSA, and there'll be a number there, right? A dollar amount.
Correct. And there's no detailed information about that number. It's strictly a number. So you can't find out what companies that includes or what wages that includes. So you need to sit down with that number and with your tax return from 2013 and compare your wages to see if everything's there.
Right. If you made, say, $40,000, there's no breakout to say that $20,000 came from X company and then $10,000 came from another company. It's just $40,000.
Correct.
So you took that number, and then did you say the next step was look at your tax return?
Yes, you're going to look at line 7 on your tax return, which is your total wages.
Line 7 of your tax return, and there it's listed as your total wages. You're going to look at that number.
Correct. That's what the total of all the wages from all the W-2s you received that you reported to the IRS. That should match what employers report to the IRS and to Social Security. But if it doesn't match, something might be left out.
If it does match, everything should be fine. And you're off the hook and you can turn off this podcast episode. But if there's a discrepancy, meaning if there's a difference between what you said your total wages on line 7 of your tax return and what's actually reported to the SSA, if there's a difference there may be something up. And if you work for one of these sessions companies, that might be an explanation why there's a discrepancy. Of course, that's not necessarily the reason why there could be a discrepancy, but that's what we're investigating right now, correct?
Correct. And many people have found that that is the discrepancy, that the only wages missing were wages they made for that year that were paid through Sessions Payroll.
You checked with me. You checked with me for 2013. I did have a discrepancy when I looked this up, and there was about a $385 difference between what was reported as my total wages and then what was reported to Social Security. So I looked in my W-2s, added them up, and guess what it totaled? $386. So I think there was a $385 difference or $386 difference, and $385 was reported. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, this affects me. And then you've done this with other actors who've worked. What are some of those experiences?
So far, everyone that I've told to check has found that their Sessions Payroll earnings are missing, and they're missing for every year they ever worked for them.
Oh my gosh.
For some people, it's as simple as looking at the Social Security wages, say it's $40,000, looking at their tax return, it's $50,000, and pulling out their W-2 from Sessions and it's saying $10,000. For some people, it is as simple as that, and seeing it that way. There are other people with more complex income and tax situations, but I think everybody can use the process to take a look and see what they're looking at, see if there is a discrepancy that maybe they have to fix.
Now, with respect to Social Security, now we understand the next step is if you see that discrepancy, and it can be explained with the W-2s, the next step is to figure out what your local Social Security Administration office is, go there, present the W-2s, and correct it with the office.
Correct.
Okay. And then what does a person need to do with SAG Pension and Health?
With Pension and Health, you need to review the statements that you receive every year. Around April or May, you usually get the statements for the previous calendar year. And you need to sit down with your pay stubs and check that all your earnings are there. If something's missing, you need to send in a copy of your pay stub to Pension and Health so they can correct it.
Let's say this issue did affect me. If I gave a call to SAG Pension and Health, what guidance would they give me?
They would give you the same advice I just gave, to sit down with your pay stubs, check day to day, every day you worked, if your earnings are there. They can't know if something's missing. They just take what the employers report to them. And the only way they know if there's a difference is if you report it.
Is it any different with AFTRA Health and Retirement?
It's the same process. The only difference between SAG Pension and Health and AFTRA Health and Retirement is SAG lets you review your earnings record online, whereas with AFTRA, you need to call to get a copy of your current earnings record.
Sarah, this is a lot of detailed information, and I'm sure someone listening on a podcast, on a bike ride, or in the gym, or in holding, or at an audition is not going to have all the resources available right in that moment to address this. So I understand you've created a guide, a very detailed guide for addressing this. Tell me a little bit about this guide.
I realized when I discovered this problem, I was trying to tell as many people I could on set about it so they could check their records and fix any errors they find. I believe it's very important. But I was finding that people were glossing over somewhat, as you did yourself the first time. And I also was giving so much information that they couldn't comprehend it all in one sitting. So I wanted to write something out. I created a guide that explains everything that I found to be a problem with Sessions Payroll and where they've not reported income, how to sit down, check your records, check if this is happening to you, and how to fix it.
I've looked at the guide. It's got a lot of very specific information that I hope people will download. Where is that guide available?
I created a Facebook page. You don't have to be a member of Facebook to see it. It's public. It's called facebook.com/unionfinancials. And there you can download a copy of the guide or view it in your browser. And if you follow it step by step, you should have a better idea of what you need to be looking at and find out if you have a problem.
That's facebook.com/unionfinancials. I put that link in the show notes. The guide is available for download straight from the page?
Yes, you can click on the link on the Facebook page. It will open up in your browser and you can download it from there.
Lastly, Sara, what can a person do to alert other actors about this issue with respect to Sessions payroll and making sure that their income is properly reported to the Social Security Administration?
The best way I found so far is to tell your friends, tell other actors that you see on set, let people know about it. It's really important. Also, I've advised people to make SAG-AFTRA aware of the issue. There might be something they can do if more people are reporting that this is a problem for them. There's a phone number to the legal department in the Los Angeles office in the guide, and there's more information there about the IRS and Social Security and where you can find more information about these problems.
Sara, thank you so much for coming on the podcast to share this very important topic that overlaps with acting income. I'm really impressed by what you've done and put together, and I really hope that the audiences listening to the podcast will take action and also spread word about this issue to make sure that Social Security income is properly reported. So when you're qualifying for Social Security, you're getting the proper amount. I'm sure that your money is going to be very important when you get older and you want all your income reported. You don't want to be losing out on a nice big chunk of change when you get older.
Correct. It's up to you to protect your financial future.
Sara DeRosa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
After my interview with Sara, I took a trip to my storage garage to get my past tax returns. Using Sara's guide, I was able to easily figure out whether my income had been fully reported to Social Security and whether my Sessions payroll income might explain any discrepancies. I told you in the interview about my 2013 discrepancy. Well, let me tell you. I went back all the way to 2009. For 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013, I had discrepancies between my total wages and what was reported to Social Security. And in each of those years, Sessions income could explain some or nearly all of those discrepancies. How much are we talking here? For each year, let me tell you what I made from Sessions that year. Then let me tell you how much of my income wasn't reported to Social Security that year. A suspicious pattern starts to develop. In 2009, I made $374 from vast care of Sessions. I also made $589.88 from Tri-State/Sessions, a Sessions company Sara didn't mention in the interview. So I made $663.88 from Sessions in 2009. $1,405 of my income that year was not reported to Social Security. I had some 1099 income that year, but it seems that Sessions could be a part of the unreported income discrepancy for that year. In 2010, I made $480.14 from vast care of Sessions. $606 of my income wasn't reported that year to Social Security. It seems Sessions could explain part of that $606 in unreported income too. Here's where things start to get really interesting. In 2011, I made $4,534.12 from Sessions that year. And, $4,588 of my income wasn't reported to Social Security that year. The difference between these two numbers is only $53.88. In other words, my Sessions income covers nearly all of my considerable unreported income for 2011. In 2012, it's even more interesting. In 2012, I made $2,209.91 from RE Productions, which is a Sessions company. $2,212 of my income wasn't reported to Social Security that year. The difference between those numbers is $2.09. It's really starting to look as though Sessions is responsible for a few discrepancies in my Social Security earnings record. But it gets better. I talked in the interview about 2013. I misremembered in the interview what I made from Sessions that year. From RE Productions, I actually made $585.29. $586 of my income wasn't reported to Social Security that year. The difference between these numbers is a mere 71 cents. Again, it looks as if Sessions non-reporting is responsible for 2013's income discrepancy. I went ahead and checked my 2014 tax return. It's 2015 right now, so it's too early to make any claims about whether my income is fully reported for 2014. However, I made $648.45 from First Hand Productions last year, yet another sessions company. Only $648 of my income so far has not been reported to Social Security, and that's just a 45-cent difference from what I made from sessions that year. So, all of my income for 2014 from numerous payroll companies has so far been reported as of June, and I'm still waiting to see if Sessions reports my income for 2014. Heck, I think I'm waiting to see if they'll report my income from 2009. To straighten this out, I decided I had to go to the Social Security Administration and fix these errors. That is $9,421.79 of income I suspect at this point that Sessions Payroll hasn't reported of my income. I also wanted to flesh out the process of correcting my Social Security earnings record so you can take action. Here's my adventure.
It's Monday, June 1st. It's 8:36 a.m. I've just arrived at the Social Security Administration office on 125th Street in Harlem. There is a line, bad at counting populations, but it's about 100 people inching their way into the building at this hour. The office opens at 9 a.m. Let's see how this goes. It didn't take long for me to get in. I got in at 8:42 a.m. I was in the elevator. I had to sign in using my identification to get into the building. When I entered the office, there was a snaking security line. You get in the line, it wasn't too long. You go up to a machine, it gives you a ticket. You say why you're in there. You get a ticket. My ticket is S232. It's 8:50 a.m. and I'm sitting down now waiting. We'll see how long this takes. So it's 9:31. My number is next up. I'm going to go to a window where I understand I'm going to get... I'm going to explain that I need my Social Security earnings record corrected, and then I think I have to wait more. Stay tuned.
Just after this point, my number was called, along with the window I was supposed to approach.
For 232?
Yeah.
Okay.
I handed the representative my number printed on a piece of paper.
I need to correct my Social Security earnings record.
You need to correct your earnings record?
Yes. Yes. Here's my driver's license.
After asking for my Social Security number, the representative at the window conferred with another representative about my desire to correct my earnings record, and then asked which years I'd like to correct.
Which years would you like to correct?
I'm not sure how far back I can go, but 2009, 10, 11, 12, if I can, at 13, I don't think I can do 14, but if I do 14, I do 14.
What's wrong with them? The amount is wrong?
I discovered that a payroll company didn't report my earnings to the government, and doing some checking, it looks like that I have the W-2s for that company. It looks like they don't show up.
Okay, well, you have the W-2s for the years that you would like to correct?
For 2009 through 2014, yes.
Okay.
After about a minute of waiting, the representative spoke again.
Okay, so someone will call your name and then you go to the door, okay?
Okay.
Just listen for your name.
Okay, do you have any sense of how long that might be?
I can't give you a specific time.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. So it's 9:37 a.m. I just finished talking, and someone's going to help me. They don't know when, but hopefully shortly. She was very nice. So it's 11:41 a.m. I've been sitting here. It was standing room only for a while, but now there's some open seats, and I saw some people who were just in front of me in line go into the office. So hopefully that means that soon I'll be here speaking to a representative.
Only, unfortunately, I wasn't soon speaking to a representative. Instead, hours passed.
Well, it's 2:32. I'm a little hungry here. I am still not in. You can't have food, you can't have beverages in here. Just keep that in mind. And I continue to wait.
6 minutes passed, then at 2:38 p.m., I heard my name called, and I was instructed to go to the door, where I would finally meet with a representative.
Ben, how?
Benjamin?
Yes.
She escorted me back to her desk.
Thank you very much. You can call me Ben.
Okay.
I learned that a payroll company or several payroll companies didn't report my earnings since 2009, so I have W-2s now.
You have W-2 form?
Yeah. This might look intimidating, but I just need to pull the information out. Okay. Do you only need to see W-2s, or is there anything else you need to see?
We have wages for 2009.
I'm an actor. I have lots of different payroll companies, but there's a payroll company that seems to not show up. I'm not the only person who's had problems with this payroll company. I've researched it, and I've found that it looks like it happened to me too. I can name the payroll company.
Well, right now I'm not looking at the company. I was looking at the data from IRS.
Oh, okay.
Stating how much did you earn. Do you know how much they're saying that you earned?
You mean from the on my tax return?
Mm-hmm. In total.
I can find that out for you in just a second. There was a discrepancy between what I was earned and what was reported to Social Security. It's on the website. So that's what I'm trying to...
we get this information from the IRS.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. So if there's a discrepancy with them, it would be a discrepancy with us.
Right, yeah, and that's what I understand that to be the case. So I have on my tax return, I'm looking at line 7, and it says that I made $7,490 that year.
Yeah, because we have 6.
Are you looking at 2009, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. 6,
Yeah.
85, 77.
So there's 2 W-2s that I have, at least, from the suspicious company. And I guess if you have them listed on there. So it's 3:06 p.m. I just left the Social Security office. The meeting was pretty painless. The representative simply looked over each year. She listed off to me the employers that she had on record. And when I noticed that a sessions company was not listed, I gave her the W-2. And then when we were done with the whole process, she took those W-2s and photocopied them, gave them back to me, and said, that was relatively painless. So we're done.
So my excursion to the Social Security office to correct my earnings record took about 6.5 hours from arrival to departure. After I got my number and spoke to the representative at the window, there was no way at this particular office to predict when I was the next person to go into the office, so I stayed very, very, very patient as the hours ticked by. You weren't allowed to eat or drink either, and while there were bathrooms, I was a little nervous my name would be called when I was in it. But the process of correcting my earnings record was easy, and the reps were friendly. It turned out Sessions did report my earnings for 2009, so Tri-State and Vast were okay for 2009. However, in 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013, and for 2014 to date, there were no reports of Sessions income. This all raises the question, why? Why has income related to Sessions payroll not been reported for so many years? Why are there reports of other actors with unreported Sessions payroll income? I do not know the answer. But one last thing before you go. Sara mentioned in the interview a guide she put together, which you can download from Facebook at facebook.com/unionfinancials. I've created as a companion to her guide a free worksheet for determining your unreported acting income. If you go to actingincome.com/unreported and enter your email address, you'll get an email with my unreported income worksheet. It's a chart you can easily fill in to see whether your income from a particular employer was reported to Social Security. Sara's guide will explain it in detail and what to do about it, and my worksheet will help you to quickly determine if the issue affects you. Again, the worksheet is available at actingincome.com/unreported, and if you missed that link, it's also in the show notes. This has been an epic episode. Maybe I should call it an epic-sode. Whatever the case, I hope this episode gets you to take action about your financial future. I'm not done yet, as I need to connect with SAG Pension and Health and AFTRA Health and Retirement about the reporting issues. But please, remember this. As I stressed in the beginning, there's a time limit for fixing problems. I'd put this in your planner or put it on your to-do list to deal with this as soon as possible. And that's the show. This episode was sponsored by the website Stand In Central. To learn about standing in and to download the Stand In Handbook, visit standincentral.com. The show notes for this episode are available at actingincome.com/episode 11, where you can leave a comment on this episode. You can also find Acting Income on Twitter and Facebook. Rate and review this podcast on iTunes by visiting actingincome.com/iTunes. Pitch an episode idea by visiting actingincome.com/pitch. And if you'd like to sponsor an episode, check out actingincome.com/advertise. I'm Ben Hauk. Make sure to share this episode. See you on the next. And for more information, as always, check out actingincome.com.